Hello there and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to talk about horrific visions. No, you haven't woken up and it's back in 2020. We are in 2025 and horrific visions are coming back to World of Warcraft in patch 11.15 of the War Within. There are some pretty major changes here, so we are going to talk about those in this video, so hopefully it's not too long, but there is a lot to cover here. But before we jump into everything you need to know about horrific visions revisited, I just want to give a big thank you to everyone over on Patreon. I appreciate all the support you've given me recently on Patreon, and if you want to support the channel that way, I'll leave a link down below. Right, so horrific visions are returning in 11.15. These are called horrific visions revisited, and basically they're very similar to the version that we had in 8.3, but this is going to be a very good gearing method for solo and small group players in 11.15. And on top of that, there's a bunch of brand new transmog mounts and pets and achievements for you to collect as well. So let's talk about the basics here. As of the recording of this, we do not have an official release date for patch 11.15, but it is currently rumored to be April 22nd and April 23rd, depending on your region. However, as of the in-game calendar, Horrific Visions Revisited does not start until May 20th or 21st, depending on your region. So yeah, potentially this might not come out until May, but don't worry, there is quite a lot of other content in 11.15, which I did cover also in the channel, like the Nightfall content, Dastardly Duos, things like that are also coming potentially on patch day. But yeah, it looks like Horrific Visions might be a little bit of a staggered release from the patch day, but certainly we'll find out once we get an official announcement. Now, once that date does come around, it doesn't look like this does have an end date. However, some of the items do indicate that they will basically stop working at the end of Season 2, so I would imagine that Horrific Visions Revisited will be here for 11.15, 11.17, and then in 11.2, it will probably still be around, but probably not relevant for gearing. So yeah, make the most of it while you can. Now, once it launches, you will have a very short questline to unlock this with Cyrodiil in Dornogold. The story context for Horrific Visions coming back is essentially they're like, hey, we're going to fight the Void soon. Remember when we fought them before? Let's try and remember what we did to defeat them before. So that's kind of the story. There is obviously a little bit more nuance there, but of course you can read all the quest text and things like that. But once it is unlocked, the entrance to get into the Horrific Visions and kind of the hub is going to be in Dornogold by the Core Way, and this is indicated on the map as well. Now, during your Horrific Visions in 11.15, you are going to get a new currency. This is Displaced Corrupted Mementos. These are not the Mementos from 8.3, so you can't grind them now. This is going to be a brand new currency, just very similar. But however, this is Warbound transferable, so if you are doing this on your main and you want to transfer it to your alts, that is something you can do. There doesn't seem to be a tax or anything like that. It seems like a one-to-one transition. Now, let's briefly touch upon the gameplay of Horrific Visions, as potentially a lot of you might not have played these in 8.3, but I will do a kind of TLDR version. We're not going to get into the absolute details here because there is just so much with Horrific Visions, but the kind of short version of it is that Horrific Visions are a 1 to 5 player experience that takes place in a corrupted version of Stormwind and Orgrimmar. When you descend into these corrupted versions of Stormwind and Orgrimmar, basically what you got to do here is defeat NPCs and bosses while your sanity is slowly draining. You can see that bar on your screen, and that's going to slowly go down over time or from attacks and things like that. So the goal here is to keep that sanity bar as high as possible, because if it reaches 0, you will lose and you'll be kicked out of the vision. Now, each city has 4 wings with a mini boss inside of them with different activities you do inside of them, like placing bombs or opening cages, closing portals, defeating mini bosses, things like that. And then on top of those wings, there is a main boss. In Stormwind, it is Illyria, and in Orgrimmar, it is Thrall. Now, the rewards in Horrific Visions are based off of how many wings you defeat, and obviously if the main boss is defeated. Now, if you just want to beat the main boss, you can go straight to it, but obviously if you want to get the best rewards here, you want to be clearing all 4 wings and then taking on the boss. But the boss will get more abilities with the more wings that you defeat, which are kind of like smaller versions of the abilities that the mini bosses had. Now, that's kind of your basic version of Visions, where you're going to get the kind of lowest level of gear. However, if you want to push it even further, there are different masks you can unlock through Horrific Visions, and putting on more masks equals more rewards, but it also affects the gameplay, making it harder, adding kind of affixes to your Horrific Visions, which we'll talk about in more detail in a second, as there are some new masks in 11.15. But that's kind of the gameplay. You kind of run in, defeat as many wings as you can, defeat the main boss, and then get the loot. If you want to get better loot, put on more masks, up to 8 masks in 11.15. So pretty much, if you loved Horrific Visions in 8.3, you're going to continue to love them, and if you hated hated them in 8.3, you're probably going to continue to hate them. Let's talk about what's new in 11.1.5. Now, the great thing here is that it is repeatable. There is no vessel or key or anything required to do these. You can slam as many horrific visions as you like, you can fail them as many as you like, and you can jump straight back in, which honestly is a great change. The kind of biggest thing here that we're going to see in 11.1.5 is the addition of an NPC Companion. No, it's not Bran, it's actually just a vision of Siradormi, and you can actually choose the spec on this, so it can either be a tank, it can be a healer, and it can be a DPS. However, it's not as deep as Bran, there's no curios or anything like that, it's simply just a choice, and it seems pretty helpful for the most part, so that's really great to see. So if you are running solo, or 2 players, 3 players, whatever, you'll have an NPC Companion to help you out on your horrific vision runs. So let's quickly talk about the masks in Horrific Visions. Now, there are 8 to collect in 11.1.5, and there was 5 previously in 8.3, and all 5 of those old masks are coming back. However, you will need to unlock them again. So returning from 8.3 is the Mask of the Long Night, the Mask of Burning Bridge, the Mask of the Daredevil, the Mask of Pain, and the Mask of Dark Imagination, and these will be unlocked fairly quickly, as all you have to do to unlock most of them is just complete one of the wings with a mask active. So once you get one mask, you stick that mask on, complete the horrific vision, and you'll unlock most of the older masks again just from doing that. So let's talk about the new masks in 11.1.5. So you have the Mask of Multitude. To unlock this, you just got to complete all the objectives in one horrific vision with one mask active. When you have this mask on, more enemies will be present throughout the horrific vision, which is terrifying and kind of annoying, but yeah, that's the Mask of Multitudes. The next one is the Mask of Nemesis. To unlock this, you need to combine 2 Nemesis shards. The Nemesis shards are dropped by Hogger in Stormwind by clicking a wanted poster, and Gammon in Ogrimmar by clicking his axe. Each of those will drop a Nemesis shard, and you combine those to get the mask, and you need at least one mask on to get them to spawn. When you put on the Mask of Nemesis, a new counter will be at the top of your screen, and every 25 kills, your Nemesis will spawn. In Stormwind, this is Hogger, and in Ogrimmar, this is Gammon, and then you have to kill them, so that's kind of irritating, but not too bad, and you also get sanity when you kill them, which is nice. Now, the final new mask is the Mask of Vengeance. To unlock this, you just need to have one mask active and loot the mask from Stormwind. It's actually behind some NPCs near the canal between the Trade District and Old Town, so that's pretty easy to get. And then when you put the Mask of Vengeance on, killing enemies will bolster all nearby allies with Vengeance, increasing their damage done by 20% for 20 seconds, and this effect actually stacks. So yeah, those are the 8 masks that are going to be available in 11.1.5, and as mentioned, more masks equals more rewards. Kind of, up to 5 masks, which we'll talk about in detail in a second. Also in 11.1.5, there's a new system called Tribute Buffs. These actually just give you buffs inside visions, and the way that these work is that you build them up over time, and you can see your progress for them in kind of the waiting area before you go into a vision. So you have 4 buffs available. You have the Vision Hunter. To fill the bar for that buff, you just need to defeat N'Zoth's minions, and that buff will increase your movement speed and haste. You also have Elite Extermination. To fill that bar, you will need to defeat elite minions, and this buff grants sanity every time you kill elites. The next buff is Destabilization. This bar is filled by killing bosses, and the buff increases your damage. And then finally, there is Clear Sight. This is built up by using potions and handing in crystals in horrific visions, and this buff gives you the ability to see and loot treasures in tainted areas. So just a nice little system there to help you in horrific visions, and that's account wide. So if you're doing this on multiple characters, the bar will be account wide. So once it gets to 100%, they get to their full power. Speaking of power, the talent tree will return, but this is a new talent tree, so if you did do it in 8.3, we're doing it again. However, the power-ups and boosts are pretty much identical to the ones from 8.3, so you get sanity orbs, so you can regain your sanity during a run. You'll get damage increases and damage taken reductions up to 15%. You'll get reducing sanity drain and your sanity amount increased, and just different boosts and things like that to make your horrific visions a little bit less horrific. Now, there are 13 upgrades in total, and these do cost various amounts of displaced corrupted mementos, increasing each time. So the lower ones are like 20, 100, 300, etc. And by the end, it's like 1,000, 1,100, 1,200, etc. But you get quite a lot of this currency, so it's not really a problem. However, on PTR, it does look like there is going to be a bit of a time gate here. So it looks like you're going to get 4 per week, and then by the 3rd week, you should be able to have all of them unlocked. This is an account-wide unlock, though, so if you are unlocking them on one character, that'll unlock across your account, which is nice. But as of PTR, yes, it does look like it is going to be a 3-week cadence to fully unlock the talent tree for horrific visions, but that might might change. That's just how it is on the PTR. So that's kind of the gameplay aspect of Horrific Visions. So very similar to 8.3. However, there are some nice changes there, like not having a key and things like that is super great. And the upgrades and whatnot are fairly easy to obtain. And it's nice to have, you know, the tribute buffs. And the new masks are creative and fun, and you can mix and match those with the older ones. So let's get into the most important part of the video, the rewards. Why are we doing Horrific Visions in patch 11.15? So yes, there is gear from this, and it is the best gear you could ever get as a solo player. So let's get into it. So first and foremost, the appearance of the armor you're going to get is a unused recolor of the mythic sets from Nyalotha. So these are colors we've not seen before, but yes, the actual design itself is just from mythic Nyalotha. So gear drops in Horrific Visions are all dependent on the amount of wings you defeat, the amount of masks you have, and whether or not you defeat the main boss. You will have to defeat the main boss if you want to get gear drops from Horrific Visions. So you can get rewards from each difficulty level once per week per character. So if you just want to defeat the main boss with no masks active, you're going to get 626 veteran armor. Once you add some more wings into it, your veteran armor will get a little bit better, with it going from 629 for one wing and then 632 for two wings. And then once you do a full clear, this is when champion armor will drop. If you complete all 4 wings and kill the boss in an Horrific Vision, you will get a 636 champion piece. Once you do a full clear with 1 mask active, 639 champion gear will drop. If you do a full clear with 2 masks, this is when 642 champion gear will drop. With 3 masks, this is when 645 champion gear will drop. But once you get to 4 and 5 masks, this is where you want to be aiming for, because if you do a full clear with 4 masks active, you will get a 652 hero track piece, which is 2 out of 8 upgrade. And then if you do a full clear with 5 masks active, this will drop a 658 hero track piece, which is 4 out of 8. On top of that, you will also get gilded crests from a 5 mask run. And all of these pieces of gear can be catalyzed into tier set. Now, if you want to push yourself even further and do 6 masks, 7 masks, or 8 masks, you're not going to get any gear from these. It is simply just going to be a method of getting gilded crests. And yeah, these are pretty hard runs. So really, the long short of gearing here is that if you want to get the absolute best out of Horrific Visions, you want to be doing 2 full clears every week, 1 with 4 masks active and 1 with 5 masks, so you can bag yourself 2 hero pieces a week. As mentioned, per difficulty, you can get that once a week, so if you do want to get some champion pieces as well, you could do 3 masks, 2 masks, or 1 mask, but for the most part, you want to be aiming for those 4 and 5 mask runs, which are kind of difficult. On the PTR, we're juiced in mythic gear, but you can bring in friends to help you. As mentioned, this is a 1 to 5 man experience. So that's how you get your gear in Horrific Visions. However, the weapons are a little bit easier. So good news here, the weapons are actually purchased from a vendor. Now, there are 3 vendors available, one that sells 632 veteran weapons, one that sells 639 champion weapons, and then another vendor which sells 658 hero weapons. To unlock access to these vendors, you will need different achievements. So to unlock access to the veteran weapons, all you have to do is clear 2 wings and defeat the main boss. To unlock the champion weapons, you need to do a full clear with just 1 mask active, and then to unlock access to the hero weapons, you have to complete a Horrific Vision with 5 masks active. And this unlock is account-wide, so once you've unlocked it on your main, your alt can go and purchase these weapons. All of these weapons seem to cost 500 Displaced corrupted mementos, which is not a lot at all, and the champion and hero vendors also have a new item called a Warbound Purifying Kit. So basically, when you buy this item from the champion vendor, all of your future veteran gear from Horrific Visions will be Warbound until equipped, so you can send that to your alts. And then the other Purifying Kit from the hero track vendor will make all of your future champion gear Warbound until equipped as well. And that will set you back 2,000 corrupted mementos, but really good for alts there. Another thing happening in 11.15 is that corruptions are coming back. Kind of. So yes, 8.3 corruptions. Everyone loves corruptions. These are coming back in the form of head enchants, which will work until the end of Season 2. So to unlock these, it is fairly easy. It is just simply from a quest. This quest requires you to obtain corrupted mementos and some items from bosses. And there are 2 quests to complete. You have one to unlock the lesser versions, and then another quest afterwards to unlock the greater versions. But once you've completed this quest on your account, this will unlock the vendor to purchase these enchants on any of your future characters, which is really great. Now, there are 6 corruptions you can choose from. You have Echoing Void, Infinite Stars, Twilight Devastation, Gushing Wound, Twisted Appendage, and Void Ritual. And you can swap and change these as much as you like, as long as you've got enough currency to buy the items. So that's all your kind of power items in Horrific Visions. Let's talk about what really matters, and that's cosmetics. So in Horrific Visions themselves, you will still be able to obtain all of the rewards from 8.3, so all of the pets and toys and things like that which dropped from Horrific Visions in 8.3 will continue to drop in 11.15. On top of that, there is a vendor which does sell rewards from 8.3, like the Wicked Swarmer mount, the Black Dragon Scale backpack, and a transmog of the legendary cloak if you didn't obtain it back in BFA. And those will cost the new currency, but a little less than before, which makes them a little bit easier to obtain. You'll also be able to purchase a new mount called the Corruption of the Aspects, which is a Void Slither Drake, which is cool, the Scourge of the Aspects pet, a new Bronze Dragon Scale backpack transmog, and then you'll also be able to purchase cosmetic versions of the recolor of the Mythic set from Nyalotha. So if you haven't had any luck with these items dropping, you can just purchase the cosmetic versions to unlock them on your account. Now, it's worth noting with this vendor, you can't purchase anything until you've unlocked the full research tree, which is 3 weeks. Yeah, that's at least how it is on PTR. I don't know if they're going to ship that, but essentially, yes, you won't be able to purchase any of these cosmetics for 3 weeks, but you will be able to build up the currency. So basically, for the 3 weeks, you want to build up as much currency as you can. Then when you complete that tree, you can use the vendor and purchase everything you like. Now, beyond the vendor, there is some new cosmetics dropping. There are actually 4 brand new pets. You have the Eye of Chaos pet from the Vision of Stormwind, the Void Scarred Parrot from the Vision of Stormwind, the Void Scarred Scorpid from the Vision of Ogrimmar, and then the Void Scarred Tool Strider chick from Ogrimmar as well. There are also 6 new mounts dropping inside these visions, which are obtained through various means. I will have a full guide on all the mounts closer to the time of launch. I don't want to get too much into it here because some of them are a little complicated, but going over the mounts, we have the Void Fire Death Cycle, the Nesting Swarmite, the Void Scarred Griffin, the Void Forged Stallion, the Void Scarred Packmother, and the Void Scarred Wind Rider. Most of these are fairly easy to obtain. For the most part, they're all just small little secret things, but most of them have been found on PTR, and as mentioned, a full guide will come out closer to the time. And sticking with mounts, there are achievement mounts. So the Black Serpent of N'Zoth, which is the old reward from Horrific Visions, is going to be still obtainable just from completing a 5-mask run in Stormwind and Ogrimmar. And then the other mount is from the achievement Mastering the Visions. To complete this achievement, you will need to complete Stormwind and Ogrimmar with all 8 masks equipped. However, you can just run in and kill the boss, so it is actually pretty easy to do. And this will reward you the Nyalothian Shadow Worm mount, which is a recolor of the kind of N'Zoth shadowy worm thing. I don't really like the look of it, but yeah, that's kind of the big ticket reward on the achievements, which is a great way to talk about achievements. So yes, there are a ton of achievements being added for Horrific Visions. There are various achievements all related to Stormwind and Ogrimmar specifically, which all give achievement points. You also have ones for collecting the amount of currency. You got another for completing the research tree, and then you got various achievements for completing it with various amounts of masks active. Now, there is a big achievement here to complete all objectives in Stormwind and Ogrimmar in a single visit while not in a party with all 8 masks active. That's going to be your kind of massive achievement that you can flaunt. The reward for that is the title The Mad, but yeah, that's going to be an extremely hard thing to do, but maybe it's possible later on in the season. But guys, that's it. That is Horrific Visions Revisited in 11.15. This video is extremely long. I apologize for that. Hopefully I covered everything you need to know. I will probably have more nuanced videos coming out nearer the time in regards to unlocking masks, unlocking mounts, pets, achievements, things like that. But yes, potentially releasing on May 20th or May 21st, depending on your region. We'll have to see what happens once we get an official announcement, but let me know down below what you think of Horrific Visions coming back in 11.15. Are you happy with these changes? Would you have liked to see more? Personally, I would have liked to have seen a bit more here, but it is what it is. I don't mind Visions. I do find them a little bit annoying just with some of the mechanics. That's why I like Delves more so, but yeah, this looks like a very good gearing method for solo players or players just looking to get some extra hero track items. But yes, if you like this video, guys, please do leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you want to support me outside of YouTube, I am on Patreon and I'm on Twitter at MrGMYT, and I have a partner Discord channel as well. And also I am streaming on twitch.tv/MrGM. If you want to check me out streaming War Within, Season of Discovery, we were doing quite a lot of Horrific Visions on stream, finding the mounts and things like that, which was a lot of fun. So if you do want to check me out on stream, twitch.tv/MrGM. And with that, guys, I'll see you next time.